When life breaks you, it doesn't always do it loudly. Sometimes, it happens in silence, when no one is watching. The kind of silence where you look in the mirror and realize you're no longer the person who used to beg for attention, love, or approval. That version of you is gone, dead. What's left is something far more dangerous. You stopped caring about what broke you. You stopped waiting for an apology that would never come. And when you stopped caring, that's when you became unstoppable. That's when the world got scared of you. Stay with me till the end. This is not just a speech. It's a reminder of who you really are. Like, subscribe, and let's walk through this fire together. There's a moment in life that no one prepares you for. A quiet moment. The kind where no alarms ring, no hands reach out, and no one even notices what just happened. But you notice. You feel it. Deep inside, something breaks. And this time, it doesn't fix itself. It's not a loud explosion. It's not some grand event. It's just a soft, irreversible shift. The version of you that once held on so tightly. Finally, lets go. The one who used to beg for attention, who chased apologies, who folded themselves into smaller pieces just to be loved. That version of you dies, and the world doesn't stop to mourn it. It moves on, just like you now have to. You realize you've outgrown the version of yourself that couldn't stand alone. You start seeing the games you used to play with life, the desperate need to be seen, the silent wars you fought for acceptance, the endless fights to prove your worth. It's exhausting to even remember how far you were willing to go just to keep people close, who never really cared if you stayed. That part of you is gone now, and what's left is someone the world no longer recognizes. Someone who no longer waits for permission to exist. Someone who no longer asks, am I enough? This death, this shedding, it's not a tragedy. It's a release. You didn't lose yourself. You let go of who you were pretending to be. You peeled away the layers that were built out of fear, out of survival, out of loneliness, and now you stand here, not healed, not perfect, but real. And real is dangerous. Real doesn't chase. Real doesn't beg. Real knows how to walk away without looking back. What died was the weakness they fed on. What survived is the strength they never saw coming. There's a weight you've been carrying for years, and maybe you didn't even realize it. The weight of trying to be enough for people who walked away. The weight of trying to explain yourself to those who never really listened. You've bent, twisted, and reshaped yourself in 1,000 ways, all for the silent hope that maybe they would understand you. Maybe they would stay, but they didn't. And the harder you tried to make them see you, the more invisible you became to yourself. You buried your own voice just to echo theirs. You shrank in your own skin just to fit into a space they never built for you. You waited for their approval like it was oxygen, but it never came. And in that waiting, you locked yourself in a prison made of their opinions, their judgments, their silence. But one day, something in you snaps. Not with rage, not with tears, just a quiet breaking point where you stop asking, why don't they see me? And you start asking, why did I need them to? That's the shift. That's when the chains start to loosen. You stop explaining. You stop begging. You stop proving. You stop needing to be understood. And in that space, where their approval used to control you, you finally feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Airspace. Freedom. It's strange how the moment you stop chasing their acceptance, you start finding yourself. You realize you were never built to fit into their story. You were always meant to stand outside of it, to write your own. And when you finally let them go, Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but because you no longer need to be seen by them. That's when you walk into your own storm, and you realize you were never meant to be understood by them. You were meant to be free. There was a time when pain shattered you. It tore through your chest like a storm you didn't know how to survive. Every hit, every betrayal, every moment of silence from the people you trusted, each one felt like it would break you for good. And back then, maybe it did. You used to fall apart so easily. You used to carry every wound like a weight you couldn't put down. But something's different now. You don't fall like you used to. You don't crumble the way you did before. Somewhere along the way, the pain that once destroyed you stopped being your enemy. It became your armor. You didn't notice it right away. You just realized that the same things that used to crush you don't. They hit you, but they don't go through you. They scratch the surface, but they don't sink in. You've been through enough now to know that pain doesn't just visit. It stays, it shapes you, and if you let it, it can bury you. But you didn't let it. You learned to carry it. You learned to wear it. You learned to let it harden the parts of you that needed to stop bleeding. You don't flinch anymore when things go wrong. You don't panic when people leave. You've seen it. You've lived it. And now you walk through fires you used to run from. You stand in places you never thought you could survive. And maybe you don't even realize it, but you've become someone unrecognizable to the version of you that once begged for safety. The softness didn't disappear. It just stopped being the part of you that leads. What leads now is the part that's been broken and rebuilt. The part that doesn't apologize for how heavy it's become. You don't burn anymore because you've already been through the worst fires and they made you fireproof. You used to think you owed people explanations. You used to think you had to prove yourself, explain your decisions, and defend your every move just to keep the peace. You gave them access to your mind, your feelings, your plans. You handed over pieces of yourself, hoping they would understand you if you just explained enough. But they never did, and maybe they never wanted to. Every time you tried to justify your path, you felt smaller. Every time you over-explained, you gave away your power. You let them sit in judgment of your life, as if they had the right to decide who you should be. But you've outgrown that version of yourself. Somewhere along the way, you stopped needing their permission. You stopped needing to make them comfortable with your choices. And when that shift happens, when you stop explaining, everything changes. Your silence starts to speak louder than your words ever did. It terrifies them because they can't read you anymore. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you're planning. They don't know what version of you is going to show up tomorrow. And that unknown, that distance, that space you've built by saying nothing, it becomes your greatest weapon. You don't owe them an explanation for the person you've become. You don't owe them a window into your process. You don't owe them comfort. Your life is not a courtroom. You don't stand on trial for the way you choose. To grow, there is power in walking away without a word. There is power in letting your actions speak in rooms your voice will never enter. When you stop explaining, you stop giving them the blueprint. You stop letting them track you. You stop being predictable. And in that silence, you don't disappear. You become untouchable. There was a time when the thought of losing something or someone used to control you. It kept you up at night. It forced you to hold on tighter, even when your hands were shaking. You clung to people who already had one foot out the door. You gripped dreams that were already slipping away. You built your life around the fear that something precious would be taken from you. And then it happened. You lost. Not once, not twice. Over and over, you faced the very thing you spent years trying to avoid. People left, plans collapsed. Parts of you, parts you thought you couldn't live without, broke off and disappeared, and you survived it. It didn't destroy you like you thought it would. It shattered your illusions. It burned the comfort you built your life around. But it didn't take you. You're still here. You're still breathing. You learn something. After loss stops shaking you. You learn that life is always moving, always shifting, always taking pieces from you. And that's not the threat. The threat was believing you wouldn't know how to live without those pieces. But you do. You've proven you can. There is something terrifying about a person who no longer fears losing. Because when you no longer fear loss, no one can use it against you. They can't manipulate you with the threat of walking away. They can't trap you in a place you've already left in your mind. You no longer grip things out of desperation. You don't beg people to stay. You don't build your identity around what you can hold on to. You walk lighter now, not because you've gained everything, but because you've learned you can lose and still stand. You've learned you can let go and still be whole. That's what makes you dangerous now, because what can they take from someone who's already faced the empty hands and survived? You used to think loving someone meant holding on with everything you had. You wrapped your identity around them. You tied your peace to their presence. You built entire worlds out of the hope that they would never leave. And when they pulled away, you collapsed every time. You couldn't tell the difference between caring and clinging. You couldn't see that love, when wrapped in fear, isn't really love, it's survival. You were surviving inside the need to be needed. You gave yourself away so icily because you believed that staying attached was proof you cared. But somewhere along the way, something inside you changed. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Quietly, you started to pull back. You stopped chasing. You stopped wrapping your worth around people who only saw you when it served them. And in that space, you found something you didn't expect. You found clarity. You saw who stayed when you didn't beg. You saw who disappeared when you stopped being useful. You realized that most people don't know how to love you. They just know how to need you. And you were done being needed for the wrong reasons. You've learned to love without chains now. You can care without surrendering yourself. You can stand next to someone without leaning your entire life on them. And if they leave, you don't crumble, because your peace no longer lives in their hands. This isn't coldness. This isn't shutting down. This is choosing yourself without apology. This is the kind of power that doesn't push people away. It filters them. It reveals who's real, who's temporary, and who only showed up to feed on your weakness. You're no longer trapped in the need to hold everyone close. You can let them come. You can let them go. And through it all, you remain standing, untouched, unshaken, and finally, free. There was a time when you would have done anything to be accepted. You would have softened your voice, lowered your standards, bent your own boundaries just to keep people close. You were terrified of being alone, so you made yourself small. You convinced yourself that if you were just easier to love, easier to handle, they would stay. But they didn't. They didn't stay. Or if they did, they stayed because you made it comfortable for them to use you, to overlook you, to take from you without ever giving back. And that's when something inside you broke, but not in the way it used to. This time, you didn't break into pieces. You broke out of the version of yourself that tolerated too much. You stopped asking, what do I need to change to be enough for them? And you started asking, why do I need them if they can't? see me. You stopped lowering the bar just to make others feel tall. You stopped offering a seat at your table to people who only showed up when it was convenient for them. You stopped handing out pieces of yourself like they were nothing. Your self-respect didn't grow slowly. It roared to life. And now, your standards are no longer up for discussion. You don't adjust them. You don't soften them. You don't apologize for them. People either rise to meet you, or they lose the privilege of standing near you. They can no longer reach you with the same lazy hands they used to touch you with. The ones who thought you'd always be there. They're left on the outside now, watching you from a distance, realizing too late that you were never the one they should have underestimated. And you finally understand that self-respect isn't about who stays. It's about who you allow to stay. There was a time when you wanted revenge. You wanted them to feel what you felt. You wanted them to lose like you lost. You replayed it all in your head. The betrayals, the silence, the way they walked away like you didn't matter. You wanted them to know they broke something in. You wanted them to hurt. You carried that fire for so long. It sat heavy in your chest. You thought the only way to heal was to make them see, to make them regret, to make them crawl back and admit they were wrong. You chased that idea like it would set you free. But over time, something shifted. You realized chasing them only kept you tied to them. That kind of revenge didn't heal you. It chained you to the same pain you were trying to escape. And somewhere in all of it, you outgrew the need to be seen by people who chose not to see you. You stopped caring about their apologies. You stopped waiting for the moment where they would finally realize your worth. You don't chase revenge anymore. You don't need to, because your life now, the way you've rebuilt, the way you've grown, the way you've found peace without them, that's the revenge. Your healing is the revenge. Your silence is the revenge. Your ability to walk past them like they're just another face in the crowd, that's what burns the most. They don't get to witness you. They don't get to claim they knew you. They don't get to stand beside the version of you that rose from the wreckage. You win when you no longer care if they see you win. You win when their names stop echoing in your head. You win when your life is no longer shaped by what they did to you. You've become your own revenge, and they can only watch from a distance now.